y'all. I'm April.
And I'm Caroline. And this is your Bloody Happy Hour.
Caroline, are you ready for this?
This is your newest guilty pleasure.
It's the bloodiest part of your week.
Did we say something about it also being happy hour?
Show did.
Because we about to be sipping on some murder. Bloody happy hour.
What's up, y'all?
Oh, hello, our friends.
We is back.
Yes, get excited. It's Thursday. I know you're thirsty. Get you some drink.
Another thirsty Thursday.
The best day of the week, I have to say, even if it wasn't podcast day and Thirsty Thursday, I think Thursday is my favorite day of the week because it's like the day before Friday, and then you have like the weekend. What do you think?
There's so much hope on Thursday.
Yeah, it's
So much hope.
and usually that's when there's at least there's a football game on a Thursday.
Well, and it used to be must-see TV days. So if you had if you're a Grey's Anatomy watcher, and I used to watch How to Get Away with Murder and Scandal and Private Practice, Thursdays was the days.
Oh my gosh.
Do you know watch any of those?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
every one of them. But I learned that I cannot eat dinner while I watch Grey's Anatomy.
Why? You have a empty...
I don't know, because I would eat dinner always and I watch Grey's Anatomy, and then I was like, oh my gosh, there's this guy's brains, or this guy's something's going through his head, and it's just a lot of stuff.
I feel like Grey's Anatomy made me smarter.
I probably didn't pay attention that far. But I love me some Olivia Pope.
Yes.
So Scandal, oh my gosh, I loved it.
I wish it was still on.
I know. So if Olivia Pope, please come back to Scandal.
Yeah, talk to...
Surely you have nothing going on.
Shirley.
What are you calling Shirley?
Shirley. So this is Bloody Happy Hour.
Bloody Happy Hour.
And we are glad to be back. And this is what episode is this? The third?
Of sport, yeah.
Of our sports killers.
It is. It is.
I'm excited.
So we've had, who was the first one?
Ray Caruth.
Ray Caruth. And then we had the Baylor basketball scandal. And now we have
Chris Benoit.
The first time I saw it, this is obviously, you'll know my brain. I was
Beniot. Don't even say it.
Well, I didn't realize. I was like, I didn't know he was French, but he's not. He's Canadian.
He's Canadian.
I know. So that's no surprise that I thought, I just, when you read something and you say it in your head over and over.
Yes.
And I was like, Chris Benoit.
Now you think I'm saying it wrong, don't you?
No, I watched so many. I listened to a couple of things and I watched some stuff and I was like, oh, Benoit. Wow. It's either something wrong with the French language or with our language. And I think our language has some real screwed up stuff going on.
Yeah, we're the hardest language. So, just think if Americans didn't know
why are there so many versions of there, and 2222? It's just one example.
It's just too much.
And some of the words that are spelled so differently.
That's why we don't learn other languages, because our own language is real hard. We don't have
there's
room
no
for
need.
another language.
There's no need.
Every other country, they can know multiple languages, but not us.
No, and especially if you have a speech impediment, I feel like it's coming back. No, that's
Depends
just my
on
brain.
what you drink. We need to chart your speech impairment and
see
if
it
correlates to a certain beverage.
That would be a fun experiment.
We would both forget.
I know.
I would bring back the data, and you would be like, what are you talking about?
You're so right. Oh, my gosh. Do you think ginkgo biloba helps?
Mm-hmm.
Is that how you say it?
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what I'm talking about?
Ginkgo.
Ginkgo biloba or bonoba. Ginkgo biloba.
Oh, because it's a slash?
I don't know what it's called, but it's stuff supposed to help your memory.
I've heard of ginkgo only.
Oh,
so
maybe I got the
Dirty Chad made up some shit and gave you. That's how he made you go to sleep at night. He gave you some ginkgo biloba.
He gave me ginkgo biloba, and he drugged me. Listen, Dirty Chad. Oh my gosh, I saw him the other day again.
What?
I was driving in my car, and I looked behind me, and he don't have a car because his car got repossessed. His truck got repossessed. At my house. They came to my house first to repossess it.
And you told them where to go?
Hell yes. They knocked on my door and I was like, oh, great. It's another one of these guys looking for Dirty Chad.
Yes.
What a shock. And we're trying to deliver like a certified letter to him because Lord knows how many times that happened. And so they're like, does blah 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 live here? And I was like, no, but you can find him at this address. Gave him the address, and they're like, okay, thanks. And they wouldn't. I think he wanted his car to be. He wanted it to be towed. He wasn't paying it. He wasn't using. He wasn't driving it. He said there was residue, like there was cocaine residue in there. I didn't want to be a part of that truck. I'm like, oh, whatever. I'm sure. I'm so sure.
I bet it accidentally got there too, huh?
Yeah, and so they took the truck. He didn't want to pay for it, so he wanted them to take it.
Okay.
So he's like cruising in his mom's Mercedes, and I was like, what is Mercedes coming up, like close getting? I mean, I'm on the highway, and I look, and I was like, oh, I could tell. He's leaning to the side, had a hat on. I could just tell, and he exited just exactly where you would exit to go to his, because he lived with his mom, go to his mom's house and live, and he's no job, so he's a winner.
Did you get like all sweaty? Like, did you get nervous?
No, I didn't nervous. I was just like, oh my gosh, I wish I could wave and be like, hey.
No, we don't need him to know what you're driving now.
I know he does not. He doesn't know unless he secretly knows or spies on me, which whatever.
So I have a story about since we're going to be talking about athletes today.
Yes.
Wait, no. Yeah. No, I don't want to talk about that yet.
Okay, don't.
Can I tell you what I got going on this weekend? After Saturday, I am officially going to be an empty nester.
Okay, so tell us how this happened, because your son is in college.
Yeah,
so
my
how
son's
are
in college.
You?
Okay, so he's going to the same college that Kenneth McDuff went to here in Waco, TSTC. And so, of course, he's heard all the stories 1,000 times. So last night we were getting stuff for his apartment. I'm taking my gum out. And
it usually, I know where that gum goes.
And I had to like give him the crazy roommate speech. Like I gave it to my son.
So he's going to have a roommate?
He's going to, there's going to be 4 of them in one apartment.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it's a quadplex.
Yeah, that's what they call me.
I just told him, I was like, you just never trust anybody. Like you could be nice, you could be cordial, but, and all these things. Lock your door at night. Told him the Patrick Dennehy story that his roommate actually killed him.
Yeah.
And told the same thing to my son. And I was like, you could be nice to people. You can either consider them like a friend eventually. Like
if you have suspicions, go to somebody and say something.
Yeah.
Like,
and my son does. He's just like, I think so-and-so is going to be a serial killer. And if they ever don't have football, they're going to be killing people. And I was like, I'm so glad you have your mama's intuition.
Oh, no. Is it intuition or is it paranoia?
It's a little bit of both.
Oh, it's a little bit of both. Okay.
Little bit of both. So there's that. I'm an empty nester, and so I actually...
What are you going to do?
May overly celebrate.
Oh, yes.
At home with my candles and wine.
You're gonna have couch, like
watching Hulu,
like a seance or something. Are you gonna go into the bathroom and say Candyman 3 times in the mirror?
No. But this, I have
Candyman's coming out. I keep seeing ads for freaking Candyman. It's gonna come out like I guess for like a Halloween thing, or maybe a little bit.
I'm so excited about it.
Is it gonna be like in theaters? Don't drink your gum.
I don't know.
Okay. Do people? Well. If it's going to be released, it's going to be released where? Theaters? If it is, I'm going to have to go to the
theaters or HBO Max. Maybe both.
Sometimes I think about how do you spell theater, and I don't
know. Goodness. I don't know either. You just let autocorrect help you. So I have to say this to you young people out there. Not really.
That's not me.
But I am 40, and I'm about to live my best life as an empty nester. And some of my friends that had a kid at the age that you're supposed to and did it the right way, like you get married, go to college, you get married, you have a kid. So they had it later in life. They're like dying, probably about
like
to drown their kids because they're like 40 and they got like 5-year-olds.
Yeah.
5-year-olds.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think you should have a kid at 20.
I know, but what if you're like me and all you're doing is going to bars and jumping over bars at 20?
Well, then you just always live your best life.
I know. So I'll just no kids and live my best life.
Or don't have kids. But if you have kids, have them young.
An accidental pregnancy happened. That would be bad.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, that would be.
Knock on wood.
They might interview you on the Discovery Channel.
Why?
Because you're old. We had a couple new, what are they called? Comments and reviews.
Okay. Am I animated? I'm animated sometimes. Okay.
So much. Here, you can read them
because you get so excited about things.
So animated, so well.
I have real bad reading skills, but I'm really working on it. Okay, we have some reviews. Oh my gosh, this one says vocabulary builder. Where did we stop off? We have to go back to where we stopped.
I don't remember.
I do. It was Mud Bugs for Life. So this one is from, okay, here's a review for you people. Thursday is my new favorite, from MHC1111. What a creative name. She said, or they say, I don't know what she, I love the fact that I can hear the ice rattling around. It makes me feel like I'm actually with Caroline and April at a happy hour. I look forward to every Thursday so I can hear about a new story. Keep up the great job, ladies. Cheers. Emojis, emojis, emojis.
Yay. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to do this one. It's from Jackie Baby 90.
Okay.
I am picky with my podcasts. I don't like them scripted. I like them improvised, but not too chaotic. Mm-hmm. You gals are a perfect mixed martini. Keep up the good work and do some cults, which we are.
Yep.
It's coming soon.
She's telling us what to do.
She might be bossy too.
She might be. Okay, you want to do the next one?
No, you do it.
Yeah, that's what I said. Celia D. I might know her. She says, when Caroline told me she was starting a podcast, I knew it was going to be amazing. I look forward to Thursday mornings. Nothing like murder in the morning. Emoji, emoji, emoji.
I'm glad I'm not the only one who wakes up, says my prayers. I do say my prayers.
I need to start doing that before.
Then I'll brush my teeth and put on a podcast.
So sometimes I'll wake up at like this morning I woke up at 5 and I was like, that's not when I wake up. I just automatically wake up. So I will put on a podcast. I'll usually put on whatever, and I'll put it under my pillow, my phone, and I'll listen to it, but I'll usually fall back asleep. So it's like a little nursery rhyme.
Love it. It's your ASMR.
It is my ASMR, but I don't listen to ours because sometimes I get loud.
This is from Jinja, Jinja 3.
Do you think she has red hair?
I hope.
I know.
They're always my favorite. So I've listened to a few of these, and you must check them out.
You need to re-say that.
Listen. So I've listened to a few of these, and you must.
Yes, you must.
Check them out.
All caps.
They are naturals, and the first episode had me rolling.
All caps.
Hearing about a couple of their personal experience. Highly, highly recommended. She must be talking about You're Naked. You're Naked.
My homeless person?
Yes.
Okay, last one. Is this the last one? No.
Mm-mm.
Oh my gosh, it's not. Am I going to read it? Okay. Do we want to do one or save it?
We'll read Sally Joe's, and then we'll read the rest next time.
Okay, last one. Sally Joe, 318. I'm a true crime junkie, so impressing me can be difficult. Having said that, I absolutely love the podcast. April and Caroline have a perfect balance between comedy and the details of the crime. I even learned a thing or two about crimes I had already researched. Highly entertaining. Don't miss this podcast.
Yay, Sally. She is actually a good friend of mine. We bonded on true crime.
What?
She's a Florida listener. She lives in Florida. So we know. Yeah.
OMG.
Okay, so there's those. We got a couple we're going to read next time we record. And do you have anything else?
No, I mean, I have a little just thing. Like there's recently been this, well, what do we have going on right now? There was O.J. Simpson thing. Then we have the R. Kelly trial, which, whatever. But there's this newly missing child from Tennessee, Summer Wells, that I've heard about on a couple other podcasts that they've just briefly mentioned. They haven't got into it. It's just happened a couple months ago. She turned up missing in her home, and if you go look, there's not much information about it because, I mean, she was, oh my gosh, I sent you the video, and her parents
did an interview,
and they were clearly looking like they were on some kind of something.
They were at the minimum high.
At the minimum. So their daughter basically, like, the mom got home. The daughter went, like, downstairs in their house. And they live, like, on this area where there's, I wouldn't say it's like, yeah, it's just like land. And they have a bunch of wooded area, like, back behind the house. But anybody would see a car if they're coming up their, like, driveway.
Yeah.
You couldn't miss it. So she says she was just outside and her daughter's inside. And then all of a sudden she goes inside and is like, hey, asking her other kids, hey, where's Summer? And they're like, she's downstairs, you know, and the mom goes down there, is like yelling for her. And the mom,
and this is mom and dad's story, right? This is the story that they're telling. Okay.
Like, doesn't hear anything. And then she's like, oh, well, she must be gone. She must just be, she didn't even answer. She just disappeared. I mean, that's like how slow she talks. She talks slower than me, and I talk real slow. So she's missing, and they're just like, well, maybe there was this truck that pulled up, and we didn't see a truck. I don't know about a truck that pulled up. I mean, it was just like really weird. And so basically,
and no genuine emotion.
No. And she's like, well, I mean, since I shaved my head.
I didn't even know where that was going.
She's like,
so they were high or drunk. Plus
since
being
I shaved
hillbilly.
my head, she wanted to shave her head. And we just wanted to look like the boys. And her eyes are falling asleep while she's talking about it. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I cannot. And this is okay. So there's no sign of her. She's missing. They have no emotion. They're just telling the story. They look, obviously, I don't even know. But you want to hear my opinion?
What'd they do?
They sold her for drugs.
Pimped her out? Yep. Will they get her back? They won't get her back.
No. Mm-mm. That is just my opinion.
I hate it because it's a missing kid.
Yes.
And she was a pretty little girl.
Yeah, and the mom, like, they shaved her head so she would look like, I don't know. It's actually, I did just read today that they had like two other boys, little boys, and they got taken away from CPS by CPS.
The stories going to keep unraveling.
I think it's going to get crazy because, I mean.
And so I've never seen a 12-minute interview on, like, I don't know if they did the whole thing on the news, but if you go find this interview, it's 12 minutes. And you know that news person is like, oh, yeah. I'm just going to keep them talking.
So then.
No emotion.
No. And then the dad ends up saying, well, she was this and she loved doing this and she was great at this, and everything's in past tense. And then the mom starts like, well, she was this and she really liked doing this. And then in the comments, you read, like, they're like, why is he talking so much in the past tense? And he actually addresses it, and he's like, I mean, I know I'm getting a lot of hate and people saying out there, but I keep saying was, but I mean, I'm just thinking about it. It's like, you know, she was here and she's not here now, you know, and he, like, goes on, and I mean, it is so interesting. It's awful. And
it's one thing for, like, one parent to get rid of the kid, but when they, like, collaborate together and, like, both of your parents are okay with doing something foul to their kid, that's crazy.
But watch that video and you see how I watched another video. I mean, it's just WT.
Well, ... That's to be continued one.
Yes.
Let me tell you this story about it, since we're going into athletes today. This is about a Virginia Tech football player, and
that's where they had the big shooting, right? Virginia Tech.
I don't know. I don't remember.
I do. I think I was in school. I was in college then, and I think they had that big shooting.
Oh yeah, I remember the shooting.
So it's like every time I hear Virginia Tech.
Okay. Well, okay, so this kid, his name was Isim. I don't know his name. Starts with an I, and his last name was Atut, and he was 18. He's from Virginia Beach.
Atut?
Atut.
Like a toot?
Yep.
Okay.
Etute.
Oh, I wasn't thinking that. I was thinking TOOT.
Yeah, no.
Oh, okay.
So he was recently charged with second-degree murder in connection with this guy. So let me tell you the story.
Did you toot on him?
Let me tell you the story. So Atut got on his Tinder app while back. This happened this summer. So earlier in the summer, he got on and he swiped right. Do you swipe right on Tinder?
I don't know.
Oh, you don't have Tinder. So maybe he swiped right,
like,
or
right is left, right is good, left is
okay. So he swiped right because
right
they hooked up.
Yeah. Oh, so he swiped right.
Okay, so he swiped right, and he hooked up with this girl named Angela, and he went to Angela's house, and they didn't have sex. Angela just gave her a blowjob. Yeah. And so I guess it was good because a little bit later they hooked up again, and Atut went to this apartment.
Yeah,
and Angela was there.
Okay. No, I don't want to toot in my apartment. I don't even have an apartment. I don't even know what I'm saying that.
So Angela was there, and this time he somehow found out that Angela was not Angela.
She was a lane parent.
It was a lane parent. This was actually Angelo.
Wait, hey.
I mean, the name wasn't Angelo, but it was a 40-year-old man who was dressed as a woman. So, LGBTQ community, we are not condemning you at all. I'm all about people wanting to be their best person. But you can't trick people. You can't trick people.
You can trick, but you can't be tricking.
You can't be tricking.
Because I be tricked. No, don't listen to me. Listen to that. No, she gone.
She gone. Listen, so he deceived this young boy. And so in reaction to this new news that he had, he beat the man up.
The Angelo?
Yeah. Yeah. So
you have a gnat. Ha! It's on the microphone.
Is it the same gnat that was last time? So
scream that again. I know. It's bad.
So he beat him up bloody to the point that he killed him. And then he
was just so mad. He was like, "How? I can't believe you did that." Obviously, he found it's on there. Look, get it.
Got it.
Man, you did way better than I would have.
You fought a gnat one whole episode.
I got the whole episode. I even cussed at it. I got so mad I cursed it.
So he was suspended from the football team. It was a homicide. So he's out on bond right now. But
does he get an appeal because he was tricked?
I don't know. I have trouble with this case. He's got this lawyer, as he should. And he was a good kid. He never got into trouble. He was quiet. He was a good football player. I think he was going to be a linebacker or something. I don't remember. I read this a while back. But, should his life be over? He did commit murder.
I mean, yeah.
He did commit murder. And it was overkill because he said that he, when he left, the guy was gurgling.
How did he kill him?
He beat him to death in the head.
He just got he was yeah.
So then it's okay, this 40-year-old man is on this 18-year-old kid about to sexually assault him. So could that be I don't know. I just have trouble with it. And I feel bad for this kid, but I feel bad for this man he was just probably doing what he's done 1,000 times over. And you know what? There's probably a lot of people out there that would have been okay with it. So he was testing the waters. But I say just go into there open. Let people know if you got a vagina or you got a wee-wee.
I would think.
In the beginning.
I would like to know.
Yes. Full disclosure.
Yeah, I mean.
But this could be a hate crime. So, those are even worse.
I think there's at least things now that you can at least say if you're into both sides or something.
Yeah. This is the time that you can do anything.
Yeah.
And really not even get judged.
Yeah. So you don't even have to hide it. You just let them know.
Yeah.
So it won't be an issue. You're not trying to you ain't trying to surprise somebody like that. Yeah. Who's not even ready for it.
Okay. Okay, so there's that. Give me y'all's feedback. Tell me what you think. Okay, y'all. So my story today is a wrestler, and his name is Chris Benoit.
Not Beniot.
Not Beniot. So I have to say, Caroline, did you ever watch wrestling?
Okay. Not really.
Okay.
I was going to go into a long explanation that meant nothing, but I didn't.
Oh, thank you for that.
Because I do that, and I'm learning. I'm growing.
So I was the biggest wrestling fan. Like in high school, like right after high school and college, like I loved it. My favorite was Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Like in high school, I feel like there was like wrestling, like people would have wrestling nights, like where we would go watch the wrestling things. Yeah. I mean, I remember like Stone Cold Steve Austin, and if you said another, The Rock. Yeah, The Rock. But like it would be like a big thing.
Oh, listen.
But I get them all confused.
Well, Monday night was Raw. Thursday night was SmackDown, and then every once in a while you'd have these pay-per-view events. So you pay like $40, and it would be big events like for me and my friends too.
Yeah.
And I was like the wrestling fan in our apartment, and so everybody would come over because it was just a big deal. We actually like whatever beer Stone Cold was drinking on his match, that's what we drank all week. And so then the next time we would switch it up every week. So if he came on, because he was a big beer drinker, if he came out with Coors, we would go out and buy Coors. So his advertising worked. Coors, Natural Light, Keystone. It was just random stuff.
But like, is there a difference in like is he W what?
So he was WWF. But we'll kind of go into that.
Okay.
Because I was now WWE, because WWF changed it and now they're WWE.
Okay. So you'll explain it, and if you don't, I'll ask about it, because I literally have a lot lot of questions.
Okay.
So you thought this podcast was going to be shorter?
Well, don't think I'm a pro. Okay, so let me tell you, Chris Benoit, I was a little bit a fan of him, but he was like this Canadian wrestler, and he didn't have like this personality really. Yeah. So not a big fan. He always had this missing tooth, like he lost a tooth in a match.
Yeah, I did.
And then it became his thing, and he never got it replaced. So I just couldn't even take him seriously.
That was like his trademark, like Nelly with the Band-Aid or some shit. Or 50 Cent? Oh my gosh, I don't know which
both. No, Nelly. It was Nelly. Okay, so Chris Benoit, he was born May 21st in 1967 in Montreal, Canada. When he was young, he went to a wrestling match, just a random wrestling match, and then he became obsessed. Like, obsessed to the point, like, he knew that he was going to be a pro wrestler.
Yeah.
And so, like, every kid, I think, is obsessed with wrestling when they're young, or, every kid wants to be an NFL football player. But by the age of 12, he was prepping his body to become this pro wrestler. So he was 12.
Oh my
so
gosh.
He was working out hard. He was like eating good. Like he was just committing his body at that age to become a pro wrestler.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't a phase, because in high school, he was on the wrestling team and he won all these medals. He was a bodybuilder. Like, how many bodybuilders do you know in high school that actually like compete and win?
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah. So he was a bodybuilder.
I don't think I know any bodybuilders in high school.
No, because you pick that up like later on when you mature.
Or I guess they're like powerlifters or whatever. But
he was a bodybuilder. Or that's what it said.
Yeah.
Maybe that's okay in Canada to bodybuild.
I guess.
I don't know. So by the time he graduated high school, like, he was a beast. He was a beast.
From the East?
Beast from the East. And did we just reverse roles?
Why?
Because you just crunched ice.
Oh! You're welcome. That's what you get. I didn't even know I did it.
I know. That's how I live my life.
Like me.
Okay. So he
was a beast from the East.
Beast from the East. And so his body was ready. So all he needed is like some official training. So instead of going to college, he was going to wrestling training school. Mm-hmm. So when he was young, he had his favorite wrestler. He had two, Bret the Hitman Hart, and then Kid Dynamite.
Okay, so Are these like names that like somebody makes up, or how does that work?
So usually you have your stage name.
Okay.
Yeah. And so Bret Hart was his name, but he was called the Hitman. And he's popular. Like, he was a family of wrestlers. He actually had a brother that died during a match, like doing this big
crazy move.
Yeah.
Is this the group that does like dress up or you get to that costumes or
some of them do. I mean, it's just evolved over the years. So some of them they have these
like
characters
weird,
and these personas.
Yeah, like it's almost like it's like a show.
It is
not really like an event. Like it's not like a sporting event because it might be like okay.
Yeah,
okay.
And I'll tell you that. Okay. But they're very scripted and charismatic. Yes. But it's 100% of sports. Okay, and you'll hear why. Okay. So, Bret, so he joined the Hart family dungeon, and so the Hart family just had this basically like this training like wrestling school, where they taught you all the moves, all about wrestling, and Bret, when in the peak of his career, he had a finishing move. So every wrestler has their finishing move, and Bret's was the sharpshooter.
What's that?
So I'll tell you.
Can you show me?
No. So Bret,
he had the sharpshooter. I got a ring out there. You can't show me?
No.
Oh, okay.
Can't do it. Can't do it.
You got a trampoline park later?
I don't
show me?
want to
trampoline
have
park?
CTE.
Nope. Okay.
So, what was I saying?
I don't know because I keep just trying. The Hart family dungeon. They had this
ring,
little gym, and
wrestling school.
Yeah, wrestling school.
So, Chris Benoit actually started doing the sharpshooter when he started wrestling. Like, that was his finishing move. So he emulated his career off of Bret Hart and Kid Dynamite. So the sharpshooters, you climb up on the ring and you dive off like you're diving into water, but no hands, head first to your opponent. So you're like diving. It's like a diving headbutt.
Oh no!
And so you hit your opponent, and then you like tag them out, and it's over with, right? Yeah. But sometimes you miss, so your head hits the ring.
Yeah.
Or sometimes they pick up a chair, and your head hits the chair. So it's a lot of head trauma. Have you ever seen a wrestler wear helmets?
I think I did that the other night. That's why I got head trauma.
Okay.
No, I have not ever seen a wrestler wear a helmet. No,
so think of like in the beginning when he started, like all this head trauma that he had in the beginning.
A lot.
So by the time he started the wrestling, I told you like he was a beast, but he had a limitation. Like his form was great, his body was great, he had the hard work, he had the dedication, but he was short.
Short.
Yes. He was like 5'10".
Short man.
He was 5'10", and everybody else was like 6'4", 6'5", like and taller. And so, I mean, when you don't pass the eyeball test, sometimes you get looked over.
Yep.
But all this did is make him work harder. Like it does a lot of kids that have to overcome that. So he started off in this league called the Stampede League. It was just like a little minor wrestling league. But when he got there, he won 4 championships. Mm-hmm. So then it's like, okay, on to the next league. So then he goes to this Japan. He moves to Japan, and he's on this Japan Pro Wrestling League in 1989. And his name is Pegasus Kid. So that's like one of his first stage names. So then now is WCW, which that's probably a familiar one to
World
you. Championship Wrestling. Yes. And by 1998, like he was there, and he teamed up with Dean Malenko, who's another wrestler, and Eddie Guerrero, and his name because he becomes a big factor, and then another guy named Saturn. And they formed a team called the Revolution. And so you had your individual matches, but then you all would also have tag teams, so maybe it's 2 and 2. And then you might have like these cage matches or like group matches or something, and there would be more of them out there. So they had their group. And they became known for this group, and they're all great fighters. They all had like good physiques.
Do they wear capes and masks and stuff?
I think it was just the basic like boy shorts. I don't know what you call them, trunks that they wore.
Yeah, Speedos.
And the boots. Yeah, they were mostly like topless. The Speedos are like Speedos. But I wasn't a big fan when they were in their group. I kind of liked them when they were separate. Yeah, when they were separate. So they were getting kind of big when they were with WCW and ECW, but they didn't like the management there. So they all decided to together walk out.
The revolution.
Yeah, the revolution. So they walked out, and then that's when WWF, Vince McMahon, the owner.
Vince McMahon, the owner of the wrestling. Yeah, that's how he talks.
He does. He's very raspy.
You want me to say anything else?
That was a very good impression.
Yeah, we're gonna go wrestling tonight, boys. We're gonna do it.
They're gonna think that's me talking. That's sometimes how I sound.
Well, I sound like that.
Or
I can sound like that anytime you want me to sound like that.
Okay, so the WWF was basically the SEC of pro wrestling. Yes.
Now you're speaking my language.
So this is where he wanted to be, like, in his life. Like, they're all trying to get to the WWF. So he's got there. Like, he's at the ladder. He's where he needs to be. So he's got his little team, but now they're called the Radicals. So the same guys, but it's the Radicals with WWF. There's this thing called kayfabe. Do you remember hearing when you watched
never heard of it?
Okay.
0%.
I didn't either until I started researching this. So you were talking about WWE being very, like, scripted.
Yeah.
And, like, there's a storyline. There is. And they're very particular about their storyline, and they're very serious about it. So kayfabe was like a law or a rule that you had to keep the storyline.
Like an acronym?
It's KAYFABE. If it is an acronym, I have no idea.
Okay.
But it's basically maintaining the reality, like the story reality, like in public. So if me and you in public. So if me and you were wrestlers and we're feuding on screen,
we got to be feuding in real life.
We cannot be seen. We cannot be seen at the bar with each other.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
And then you would actually get in trouble or fined or something if you broke kayfabe.
Yeah.
So one of the story writers' name was Kevin Sullivan, and he had a wife named Nancy Sullivan, and he was also a wrestler. So he, for some reason, decided it would be a good idea to write in the script that Nancy was going to leave him for Chris Benoit.
Oh, so it's like a little Temptation Island situation.
Temptation
He's
ring.
like, hey, I want to go ahead and I want to have my own Temptation Island. I want to see if my wife, who does that?
So, and then he was a big believer in kayfabe.
Oh, I'm sure he was.
So
he was probably a big believer also in.
So he told them to
what's it called? The whatever. K-drug? It's like a
cocaine.
I
don't know what you're
okay. Continue. It's my brain. Bye.
Okay, so he told his wife and Chris Benoit, he was like, wife, Nancy, we're not going to be traveling to the matches anymore. You need to travel with Chris. And you need to stay in the same hotel as Chris. And when you go out to eat, y'all need to go out to eat together. It needs to be real. So the general public can really believe the storyline.
Well, they believed it because they probably got together.
What you think happened?
I bet they did it in the room.
The dirty?
Hell yeah. Chris was like, hey. Because he's not married or anything, no? No.
He basically served his wife on a platter to Chris Benoit.
He sure did.
And by this time, Chris is like slowly growing, like in WWF and getting more popular. He's like in the main storyline. So, Nancy files for divorce in 1997.
She's like, no, I found something better.
Yeah.
Apparently.
And of course there were like some issues, before that. But so she got her new boo. And they get married, and they have a son named Daniel by 2000. So divorce in 97, son in 2000.
So was Nancy a part of their wrestling?
Yeah, so she was actually like the valet model person.
So I heard,
the model.
What does that do? Do you wrestle?
She did wrestle. She started off as like the model, so she would be the lady
like
in the ring
that holds the
in the bikini, that kind of walks around.
So when I heard that, I was like, what was, is that what China was? China the wrestler?
No, China was a wrestler. She was badass.
What is she doing now?
She's dead.
She's dead?
Yes.
Wait a second.
She had some drug issues.
Oh my gosh! Did I know
that's a whole nother scandal.
Okay, I feel like I kind of was
that
like,
the storyline.
Now I think I know she died, but then I forgot she died, and now I remember.
She ended up being like on Celebrity Rehab, I think, or something like that.
Oh my, because I know she was still doing, she was like doing the most still.
I loved her. Like, I was obsessed with her. Okay, so remember, this is still wrestling though. Chyna and Triple H were together, and they were like two beasts in the ring. Well, Triple H, it's written into the script, ended up leaving Chyna for Stephanie, but it was real. Stephanie McMahon is Vince McMahon's daughter.
Yes, that's what I heard. That's what I heard.
Chyna stuck around, but she wasn't like a main person anymore. She ends up dating on script Eddie Guerrero.
Oh my God! But
this is how much I used to watch it.
No,
but then she eventually got like ousted, and it was probably
she got
like
booted
Stephanie.
because she broke up with the person.
Stephanie was like, "Oh, you don't need your ex-boo here. Like, I'm running the place, me and my daddy." And so she
Stephanie
hit her low.
Vince McMahon's like that, so she talks too probably. But yes, that's
I hated Stephanie McMahon.
I don't even know what she looks like, but she probably talks just like this, like he does.
She wasn't a wrestler or anything. She just like was a rich daughter. So, anyways, they didn't even have to break kayfabe because all that shit was true. I think they just brought real life into the script and made it even juicier.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I can't believe I forgot and then remembered that Chyna died.
I forgot how she died, but I thought it was drugs. But
I think it was. She probably, I mean, half these, so many people died just from like either overdose or like brain injuries or whatever. Yeah. It's real sad.
So, you know, they have their kid, Daniel, right?
Yeah.
And people start seeing a different side of Chris Benoit. So he's now kind of a family man. When before he stuck to himself, didn't talk to anybody, didn't show much emotion. Now he's bringing his wife and his son to the events, and he was living his best life. He was, but not really. Like, really not really. You would think, like, really. I got my wife, I got my kid.
Yeah.
I'm in the SEC of wrestling.
Yeah.
And I'm living my best life, but like he is hurting. He travels 300 days out of the year. His body like is wrecked because it doesn't get the rest time. So he's living off of pain pills and steroids. Pain pills because he's in pain. That's why I say, you say wrestling is fake, but they get out there when you'll see them like pick up a table. It's a real table. It's not like a foam table.
I think it's like a lot of it is fake. Like it's like action. Like I'm gonna hit you and you like move your head before I actually get hit. But when they're jumping off those ropes and like diving into other people
or off the cage into the ground onto a table,
like,
that's all real
shit. I heard about like the chair hits.
The chair hits are real.
Where they like, I mean, they like slam this freaking chair like over your head.
And if you watch like some of the documentaries that are coming out now, some of them put razors in their little wrist things, and they would cut themselves in the forehead with razors just to draw blood. So they'd get hit with the chair. To make it
look like they were bleeding?
But they were really bleeding because it was real blood. They're cutting themselves with razors.
But why?
Just so it looks real on TV.
Well, I know. That's what I'm saying. So they would, after they got hit in the head with the chair, they would cut themselves with the razor to make it look like they were bleeding.
Yeah. So, like, imagine me hitting you. You're going to fall down to the ground. Cut. Come back up, and there's blood coming down.
Yeah, but would there not be blood otherwise if you hit me with the chair in the head?
No. I mean, nothing's going to break the skin.
I don't know.
If there was, that's just a win-win.
Listen.
So this is how they tore their bodies up for wrestling. Yeah. And so they would do steroids, one, to keep their physique because Vince McMahon liked the big beasts. Like he wanted you to be like badass Billy Gunns. That was actually a wrestler.
Badass Billy Gunns.
Tall, jacked, ripped, and they would actually be scared that they would get fired or lose their job if they didn't look that way.
Yeah, being injured was like a badge of honor. Like it was,
and you couldn't acknowledge your injury because if you had to take off 3 weeks or 6 weeks for a concussion or whatever, then you lost your spot. And if you're at the top, you didn't want to, you didn't want to lose. You're climbing up. That's all it is you're climbing up.
Yep.
So they would do steroids, 1, to stay jacked, 2, for the muscle recovery for it. So they can
start doing
keep
steroids
fighting.
After my shoulder be hurting, after my back be hurting.
Well,
after
muscle
all these
recovery.
Workouts.
So, obviously WWF didn't have that strict drug policy that, maybe other sports do. And so they were taking 20 to 30 pain pills a day just to like get up in the morning and do their matches.
Sounds like my ex-husband and his mom.
Oh, wow. They should have just been in the WWF.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, and then some of them would snort cocaine, just either 1, to not feel, or they would overly drink to not feel.
Yeah.
Or can you imagine just being dead tired, but you had to come and put on your persona and like you're Hulk Hogan and you got to have all this energy.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes they'd sniff a line just so they can get in character and be amazing on screen.
I mean, in a way, not to that extent, but it's like in a way when you're like camp. Yeah,
that's what I thought about.
Running, like
it's
if
like, shit, it's 5 and 4:30 in the morning.
Waking up in the morning, trying to like the audience or the crowd feeds off of your energy. So you have to have the energy. You got to bring the energy in order for them to have the energy. So it doesn't matter. Mood. You don't matter what's going on in your personal life. Doesn't matter your mood. Nothing. Doesn't matter. You have to fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you make it.
Let's go.
I mean, I didn't sniff cocaine because of it, but I do remember having that stress. I remember like taking shots before my afternoon camp just so I can like wake up and have some energy.
Yeah,
but it's shots. Like this. You know what? We gotta like get ready to get on on screen.
I mean, I actually gotta calm down before I go on.
You actually may need to start drinking when we started, not before. But no, I've recorded an episode where I didn't.
Natural high energy.
Yes.
So if I take something, it would bring me down. Like if I if I had Adderall, if I snorted like cocaine, I would like have low energy.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I don't know.
I wish I had some cocaine to give you. No,
no, but I got Adderall, and but that's what it's supposed to do for me. If you have it, it's like makes you concentrate and focus and like calm down. So
yeah,
obviously I don't take it before a podcast,
but you take it to get your work done at work. Okay, so.
Badge of honor, injuries.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing these things so that they can be the best.
Yeah, do the most, be the most.
So because he traveled so much and now Nancy wasn't going, like their marriage is kind of like in a rut a little bit. So she files for divorce. And supposedly he has a bad temper. And she also does a protective order. So he has a bad temper. He threatened her, and he would go into these fits of rages. And that's why she did that protective order.
Mm-hmm.
Something happened, and she ends up withdrawing that protective order, and they resume their life. They get back together. They had a little small separation, but they get back together.
Yeah.
So that was like a little, what's it called? Not a valley, but it's kind of coming back up.
Had a little hiccup.
So let me tell you about his BFF. We all got our BFFs. Well, his BFF was Eddie Guerrero. And you've heard his name from earlier because they grew up together, their wrestling career, and they climbed to the top together. And they actually peaked their career at the same time. So in 2004, Chris basically wins. It's WrestleMania. He's world champion of WrestleMania. And so WrestleMania is basically the Super Bowl of wrestling. Like that's what you want to get to. Like it's everybody's dream. Football players want to win the Super Bowl. Wrestlers want to win WrestleMania and become the world champion. And then at the same time, Eddie is the SmackDown World Championship. So Raw was on Monday. SmackDown was on Thursday. He won the SmackDown World Championship. So they're kind of celebrating together. Like it's the peak of their career. But Eddie has some issues.
Oh, no.
And it's addiction issues.
Oh, no.
And what I loved Eddie because he had like charisma and he had a persona And he was like one of the few Latino wrestlers. And so he wrote that into his character. So he would come out and his like, everybody had music when they came out. His started off with Viva la Raza. And in English, that's Long Live the Race. Oh. But he would drive like these low riders and it would be like jumping.
Bouncing, black lights.
It'd have like lights under there. It'd have like those gold like Dayton wheel like rims on there. So
Spiky rims.
His character was playing into the Hispanic male stereotype. So he would like go on these interviews and he'd be like, that's an Indian.
Oh.
No, he would go into these interviews and he would be like, yeah, when I was making all my babies last night. Mexicans, we got a lot of kids. I don't fall in that stereotype.
I mean, you said we. So.
And then he got his success from lying, cheating, and stealing.
Oh, lying, cheating. Okay.
Yeah, like his music was lie, cheat, steal.
Oh,
lie, cheat, steal.
Yeah, I feel like trying to even hide it.
No. Lie, cheat, and steal.
All right, Eddie, okay.
So off screen, he struggled with addiction to pain pills. And he had like a whole bunch of overdoses or a handful of them.
Yeah.
Because he would do the pills and he would do the alcohol. And his wife was about to get fed up. And he had to go to these rehab stints, right? Mm-hmm. Well, in one of the last rehab stints, he found God, embraced religion, and came out better.
Okay.
And he trained. And so when he came back to the wrestling ring, he was like even more jacked, even more beast mode, and he was happier. So that's when his persona kind of changed from like the lie, cheat, and steal, and it was a little bit more like religious in the ring.
Okay.
So Chris Benoit didn't believe in any religion or any God, but Eddie kind of told him about it.
Yeah.
And like would read him the Bible and kind of preach to him. So people think that's how Chris kind of found his religion, is Eddie gave him that information.
Yeah.
So everything was good for about 2 years. Eddie stayed sober and their career was going. But in 2005, 2 years after he got sober, his nephew, Chavo Guerrero, found him unconscious in a hotel room. And they took him to the ambulance or took him to the hospital, and he was pronounced dead at 38 from acute heart failure after years of steroid and painkiller abuse. So Chris, who was the person that didn't show any emotion, was like grief-stricken.
Distraught.
He was totally distraught. When you watch the interviews, he's like uncontrollably sobbing. And so it was his best friend. So that actually turned him into a more hermit. So either he was traveling or he was in the house and he was depressed.
I even heard on some of the things that they were like, he was so upset. It was like he lost a spouse. Like he was that upset.
Yeah.
Like it was not just, I'm sad for a few days. That's my buddy. That's my friend. And no, it was like he was like affected majorly.
He was never the same.
No,
never the same. So he would hide in the house. He barely communicated with anybody, but he didn't take any time off. So then that made it worse because you do need that time to grieve.
You just covering Band-Aid.
Yeah. And then every time he went to a ring, he had memories of Eddie there. They'd fought there or they were just there together. And so it just made it worse, All right. So Eddie Guerrero's dead, and his death, like, not only rocked his fellow like wrestling mates, it rocked the WWE because now, I mean, people knew they did steroids, but now you got somebody that died for like abusing steroids and painkillers. So WWE, formerly WWF, had to institute like this wellness program. And so basically it's like they had to get these health exams, they had to do random drug testing, they had to get physicals and stress tests. And so it sounds all good, But there was like this big loophole. And the loophole was, well, if you test positive for like, I don't know, Xanax or like a pain pill or something, as long as you said that like a doctor, or you showed something that a doctor said you needed to be on it, then you were good. So, of course, these wrestlers with millions of dollars are going to be able to pay a doctor to say, yeah, I need these steroids, or yeah, I need these pain pills, or yeah, I've got anxiety, I need Xanax. Is that why people take Xanax?
White people?
Is that why people take Xanax? Anxiety, depression, or something?
Yes. Or just to not feel, I don't know.
Okay. So, basically, they wouldn't be penalized if they had something. So then the wrestlers just went out and found that doctor to prescribe them officially, and they can still continue to do what they did. So meanwhile, Benoit's like still devastated, and his wife Nancy becomes more worried about him.
Yeah, she's like so concerned.
So she goes out and she buys him a diary.
Yeah.
And she was just like, put your thoughts down.
Because he was like
Eddie.
distraught.
Yeah.
Super distraught. Yeah.
And so he did that, and it actually helped him. And so every day he would write these letters to Eddie.
Like, hey, Eddie, I'm going to eat
just like he was
grill.
Just like probably like randomly. I have a best friend. I would have to like do that. I've talked to every day. I would probably have to do that. Like I have a friend that died that I didn't even talk to every day, and I'm like, wait, I need to call her right now because I got to tell her this. Only she will understand that. So if that was his person, like you still yearn to have that conversation.
Yeah.
So I can see how that kind of helped him.
No.
Well, and then he would like quote scripture. So now he was a little bit more religious.
So after he
Eddie
died,
helped him get there.
Yes. Yeah.
And then one of his last like writings in the journal was, I'll be with you soon, that he wrote to Eddie. And so later on, people are like, was this suicidal thoughts like way back in 2005?
Yeah,
and so does that mean that, was he talking like out of hurt and pain or not? So he's, that kind of helps for him for like his depression, but something's making him act 100% like a paranoid meth addict.
That's what I was like. Okay, so there was some stuff that I heard or read that was super paranoid, but I didn't know what he was paranoid about. But like I heard, like he would either his like drives to the airport or to the gym, he would take like 30 different, like all these different routes. Wow. But like they were like, did he do that on like purpose?
He thought he was sure somebody was following him. And then he would
was he lost? If his mind is like, was he just lost? Like, I don't know where I'm going.
His paranoia was somebody's following him, so I'm not going to take the same route.
Okay, but what was he paranoid about?
That's the thing. Somebody's following him. Somebody was after him. He would lock his wife and his son up in the house.
Oh.
That's why I said meth addict, because they think somebody's after him, but they
don't know. For no
who.
reason.
Yeah.
Nothing, for no reason. He thought the government was trying to...
Was that like a side effect of his brain trauma? Was it a side effect of like all the things that he's taken? Like,
you don't know.
I guess you just really don't know. But he was always on edge, and he was always in fear. He would like make Nancy and Daniel like stay in the house for days, just like lock them in because he thought something was going to happen to him.
The child, Daniel, he's like an infant. It's like he's a...
I don't remember how old but he was a toddler. He wasn't an infant.
Okay,
he was a toddler.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so if he was born in 2000, and then so he's 7. So he's a kid.
Oh.
Yeah, 6 or 7.
I thought, yeah. Okay.
So, so different routes. He takes different routes everywhere. He's paranoid, and then he thinks he's being fired because he actually gets transferred to WCW, like.
So it's like ECW. You're going back to going from like SEC. Target to like Kmart, or you're going so you're going from like
good analogy. And so in his mind he's like, oh, my next stop is home, and so he's thinking that he is about to get fired when really they saw him as like a future like trainer or teacher because he did so good at, he was such a good wrestler. You can go help these guys that aren't as good. And so it was like more of a teaching type thing for him, but he didn't know that at the time. So Nancy's getting more and more scared. So scared, on the 21st, she calls a good friend and she, quote unquote, "I'm scared to death. If something happens to me, look at Chris."
Oh, no.
So what the threats are at this point, I don't know, and we don't know like how bad it actually got in the house. But she was obviously really scared.
Yeah.
So here's when it all starts. So that was June 21st.
Okay.
The next day is June 22nd, and Chris goes to visit Dr. Aston. He drives. It's about 40 minutes away. They're in Georgia. I don't know if I ever said that. Fayetteville, Georgia.
Fayetteville, yeah.
And this doctor was the doctor of most of the wrestlers. He had a good, thick prescription pad, and he wrote all the prescriptions that they needed. So that day, he wrote Chris Benoit a prescription for 10 months of steroids, but he would get that every 4 weeks. So what a normal person would take in 10 months, Chris was taking that in 4 weeks.
Oh, shit.
He drove back home, and at 6 o'clock that night, the pool boy came over, and he came to clean out the pool. And he saw Daniel and Chris outside cooking on the barbecue pit, like just a regular, normal family. Mm-hmm. He was actually the last person to see the Benoit family alive. And all we know is that later that night, Nancy and Chris had a struggle on the second floor of their house. Chris came up behind her and pushed her head to the ground onto the floor. He duct tapes her hands and her feet together, and he put his knee on her back. He's 220 pounds. She's 5'4". Like, she's small. And he strangles her with the TV cable wire. And then he wraps her up. This shows remorse. In a blanket. Wraps her corpse up in a blanket and puts a Bible next to her body.
What shows remorse?
That he wraps her up in a blanket.
Why?
Because it's like you're almost ashamed of like what you did, and then you're putting a Bible next to her, where instead of like leaving her open and like humiliating her when somebody finds her, like she's humiliated.
But why are you putting a Bible right there?
I mean, you gotta ask Chris. I mean, so it's a sign of, oh my goodness, almost like what did I do? So. And maybe that's like the Bible Eddie Guerrero gave him. Or maybe he was reading these scriptures. Like, he wasn't in his right mind. No. Okay, so son Daniel was sleeping like across the house on the other side of the house. And this house was like 7,500 square foot. So he had no idea what just happened to his mom. And this is hours like the next day. Yeah. So he killed Nancy, I think, on a Friday. Then it's Saturday or like morning the next day, but it was like early in the morning. He was asleep. He woke his son up and gave him some Xanax. When he went back to sleep, he strangled him and put a Bible next to his body. So this is like back and forth, like speculated reports said that Daniel had this bruising on his face and his neck that was consistent with Chris Benoit's finishing move. It was called the cross-face crippler. And that some people think that that's how he killed his son, is with his finishing move, which it evolved to like
So he probably broke his neck.
It's what it's meant to look like.
I mean, because
he was suffocated. His cause of death was suffocation. So they think that just how the bruising was. What happened is the autopsist.
Oh, autopsist.
Watched videos of
By
Chris
the way,
later on.
I'm pretty sure it's called a pathologist, and it's not a coroner or an autopsist. Okay. It's a pathologist.
Okay, well, thank you.
You're welcome. I have all the knowledge.
So that's just we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
So now
but didn't he like before this happened? He was telling people that the wife and the wife had food poisoning, and that was how he was like distracting them from coming to look for him, because They were like looking for him.
That's what. Yeah.
And he was like, no, yeah, they have food poisoning. And he was just trying to, I guess, because he had to be somewhere at some point or something.
So that's where I'm going now. So it's Saturday, and now it's the 23rd, and he was supposed to fly out to a pay-per-view event.
Uh-huh.
And so he called Chavo, which was Eddie's nephew, and he was like, oh, man, I missed my flight, but I'll be there later. And before he hung up, he told him he loved him.
And not like just, I love you. It was like, I love you.
And
like,
Chavo had that feeling.
Like, that's weird. Like, it was a weird thing.
Yeah. Chavo had that feeling, and so he called him back because he was like, this seems like it was a weird conversation. Let me call back and check on him. So when he called back, that's when Chris told him, yeah, I'm fine. He was like, are you all right? Are you good? And Chris was like, yeah, I'm fine. Nancy and Daniel have food poisoning, and they're puking, and so I'm just stressed. So they were like, bet, hang up the phone.
So it's like weird. Like, it's like he knew what he was doing, but you don't know if he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So he was there like all day Saturday, just there. His neighbor reported seeing him outside and talking to him outside. He told the neighbor the same story about the food poisoning. And she went in her house. He went in his house. Nobody hears from Chris until 3:53 Sunday morning when he texted Chavo, and the text message read, so all you people who like to travel to crime scenes, I got a address for you.
Texted, I think, like 5 people the same thing. He just kept texting them his address, right?
Yeah. My physical address is 130 Green Meadow Lane, Fayetteville, Georgia, 30215. Then 2 minutes later, it said, the dogs are in the enclosed pool area. Garage side door is open. Sent that to Chavo. But Chavo woke up because it's in the middle, and he was like, wait, he knows I'm in Houston? What, does he think I'm going to go pick him up? And he just kind of went back to sleep.
Yeah.
When he woke up again, it came from Nancy's telephone. Same message from Nancy's number. Oh my God. And so then Chavo was like, something's up. Let me call Chris. Called and called and called. Chris never answered. WWE people were calling because he wasn't there. They were going to have pay-per-view. And the next, I think pay-per-view was like that Monday night. Chris wasn't there. Didn't answer. So by Monday, this is like Chavo probably was like, I don't want to get my friend in trouble. So he waited. He got these messages on Sunday, but he didn't go and really tell anybody until Monday. So when he went and told WWE, and WWE was like, well, we haven't talked to him either. We need to get a welfare check.
Wellness, yeah.
So what's this? Welfare check?
Wellness check?
A wellness check. Whatever it is.
Welfare?
We need to get a welfare check.
Gotta get a welfare check on this.
So they called the sheriff's office, and they couldn't get in at first because the German shepherds were barking. The neighbor that he talked to earlier knows the shepherds, so she got him in, and they find Chris in the basement of his gym. Well, his gym is there in the basement.
But who do they find? Did they find the wife and the kid first?
They found Chris first, or according to this. They found Chris first. So after he texted Chavo, he went to his gym and he grabbed the cable from his lat pull-down machine and wrapped it around his neck, and he adjusted the weight. So, and he's a big guy, so just think of how much weight that he had to adjust it to.
It's like 250 pounds or something to hang him.
Yeah.
But that's what I was like, how like symbolic is it in a way? Because it's like that, like that's where you lived your life, like in the weight room, using that machine, and you're gonna like use that to kill yourself.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy.
It is like crazy.
If I was, like high jumping and I just was like, oh, the pole got me in the neck, and I am on the high jump mat.
Yeah.
Deceased.
Yeah.
But,
except for you haven't high jumped in 20
that's
years.
right. So if I always ended up on a high jump mat, I'd be like, that's kind of weird. Somebody must have put me there. Real strong.
So he hung himself. So the news traveled fast, and when WWE found out about the murders, all they knew that the Benoit family was dead. It's all they knew at the time.
No, they knew that Chris was dead.
Oh, Chris was dead. They didn't know it was the family. You're right. They knew that Chris was dead. So instead of having their matches, they canceled them, and they did a 3-hour tribute show to Chris Benoit.
Yes.
And you had all the wrestlers on there talking about the type of person he was, how they respected him, and how just all the things, right? They soon learned that this was an impulsive move.
Yeah, I heard that, what's his name?
Vince?
Yeah. That he found out like maybe halfway through, or this is what, halfway through the thing, that's when he learned about it. But he was like, we've already committed to doing this thing for Chris, so they just had to finish it off. But then they later
almost retracted or fixed it. Yeah, he did do a statement afterwards.
Yeah.
So they realized that they were kind of memorializing the wrong person, because then the full story came out. Some people, like some things said that in the middle of the airing, some say that it was like not even 24 hours after it aired, they had found out like what had really happened.
Yeah.
So then he went back on, and he kind of was like, basically said that we found out before it's too late. We thought we were mourning one of our own.
Which, I mean, what do you do?
I know. It's like, I don't know
what's the
right thing to do.
Yeah, like you hear this, and I think that I think, which I don't know shit about wrestling, but I'm like, I feel like I think that was like a good thing to do. Like I don't think that they're wrong for that.
No. But people, you just can't make people
and
happy.
then they didn't put him in the Hall of Fame. Which if that's the thing, if that's coming up, then
so basically, once they realized kind of what happened, Chris Benoit was erased from WWE. Like literally. If you go and watch an old match, his fights are deleted from the actual fights. You won't see his name has never been mentioned. There's this Hall of Fame, Wall of Fame, or whatever it is. He won't be inducted to that Hall of Fame.
Which I'm like, O.J. Simpson is in the Hall of Fame for football.
Is he?
Yes.
I don't even know.
But he was acquitted.
Was it before he killed somebody?
If the glove didn't fit, you must have quit. So. But I mean, football's more of a sport anyways than wrestling.
And and it's more of a, like, everybody loves football. Not everybody loves wrestling.
Not
everybody, but more people love football than I guess would love wrestling.
Yeah.
So Daniel and Nancy had their funeral. So mama and son had their funeral. Chris's name was not mentioned not one time at the funeral. And a couple of like his WWE wrestlers that I guess were good friends with them, like Chris Jericho and Dean Malenko and the commentator Jim Ross, they attended, but they felt very awkward because everybody was blaming WWE.
So he has another son. Did we?
Yeah. So David,
sons?
a son and a daughter.
Oh, I did not know he had a daughter.
Goodness, I can't. He had a son and his daughter.
The only reason I know he had a son is because he was in like one of these documentaries that I watched. But I didn't know if the son, like, I think maybe I can't remember if he did or did not. I think he did attend the funeral.
I can't remember either.
I know it was. I think he said he did. It was just like super awkward. Small and like
nobody's talked to him. There's only like 75 people there.
Yeah, it was just like very. Yeah.
Well, and Daniel, like, that was his stepmom. That was his brother.
Yeah.
Not Daniel, David. Like, they were close. And so he mourned him.
Yeah.
And even, like, Nancy's sister was his aunt, whatever. And so after that, the WWE alienated the Benoit kids.
Totally.
And so did Nancy.
He's like, they didn't reach out to me about anything. They didn't say anything. They didn't want to talk to me. Nothing. It was like he disappeared, too.
So
after all that, that's
toxicology
terrible.
Reports showed that Chris had more than 10 times the normal level of steroids in his system. That's why he was getting prescribed so much in that 4-week window. He also had alcohol, Xanax, and a bunch of painkillers. And while the WWE was being like ridiculed right now is because he had just passed a drug test like just a couple weeks earlier. So they were like, what about this wellness policy, Vince McMahon?
Okay, so what about, I heard that his brain looked like the brain of an 80. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. So Vince McMahon says he had to like kind of get in front of it because he knew roids was going to get blamed. So he went on the Today Show and he was like, you cannot blame steroids. You cannot blame WWE.
Because some people say he might have like stopped steroids and then the abrupt stop could have like caused.
Done it. There's like, so many like speculations.
Yeah.
So Vince was like, the murder's like deliberate and planned. He was a monster. So it's just kind of crazy that like
he said it was planned.
This was Vince.
That's
was
what,
like, yeah.
That's what Vince said. It's
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So,
that's so nice of you, Vince.
There was a doctor, and I forgot his name, but he used to be a former college football player and a former pro wrestler. He quit to become a doctor, and he researched like concussions and damage to the brain due to sport. He called Chris Benoit's dad, and I am glad that he did. And you know this has to be a short window because Chris was later cremated. So it's like you don't want to call the dad and say, can we check out your son's brain?
Yeah, but
you don't want him to like
clearly need to.
Yeah, but you also don't want to like him to like be cremated and you never have answers.
Yeah, I'd just like research the out of this brain.
Michael Benoit was like, yes, do your research. And so they determined, like you said, Chris's brain resembled an 85-year-old person with Alzheimer's, and that his brain cells were brown and dead from all the head trauma. And so that type of damage to the brain can cause behavior management,
good old CTE,
temperament, and personality changes. We know it as CTE. And this will never, like, he could have got an MRI, could have got a brain scan. It would have never showed up. So we know that, like, Aaron Hernandez had that. And
can you tell us what CTE?
No, you can.
Chronic. You like how I just set myself up for success right there?
After she just Googled it.
Duh. Chronic traumatic encephalopathy.
Encephalopathy?
Oh, encephalopathy. Wait, what? A progression. It is a progression. Listen, if there's anything with an R, I'm not saying it. It is a brain condition that's thought to be caused by repeated blows to the head and repeated episodes of concussion. It's particularly associated with contact sports. So, I mean, he most likely was getting like when he was doing those dives into the mat and he was like getting concussions, but then he was probably like in concussion protocol and then getting more concussions.
Still doing it, yeah.
So he's like concussed at all times. Like, you know, that one time that I was in concussion protocol when I hit my head on the roof of my car? No.
And you're still dealing with symptoms from
gosh,
that.
I think I definitely have CTE.
Don't say it.
I definitely have CTE.
And that's exactly, did you know the doctor? Because that's exactly what the doctor said.
I actually am Dr. Wolf.
Well,
right now.
he was
I'm PhD Wolf.
Okay.
So next time you talk to me, be like, excuse me, Dr. Wolf? Yeah.
Well, the doctor was like, his job, his career, his dream was actually like his silent killer. Like blow after blow, his brain was damaged until he became capable of like this inconceivable act.
So basically, like, if you say he didn't have Alzheimer's. His brain was comparable to somebody who did have Alzheimer's.
An 85-year-old with Alzheimer's.
So you would say, I mean, did he know what he was doing? Did he not know what he was doing when he was murdering them? Because it's like you could say, you could blame it on the CTE, but it's like he obviously knew what he was doing. If he's leaving the Bibles next to them, if he's drugging the kid with Xanax, but at the same time, he could go in and out of almost like consciousness and like knowing what he's doing and not knowing what he's doing based on however his brain is. damaged.
It's like my my grandma that has Alzheimer's. Yeah. She'll be feeding and rocking a baby.
Like your lucidity is like.
She'll be feeding and rocking a baby that's not there.
Oh, shit.
But she may say, hey, do you remember back in so-and-so, you know, and have like a conversation.
It's just like you.
But she's feeding and rocking a baby that's not there. So maybe it's like back and forth. Some things are lucid,
so that's
some
like
things
if
aren't.
you like you're like the lucidity of it, you just don't know. And it's just like, shit, it's bad. That's real bad.
Of course, you know, WWE's getting blamed. And the Benoit family and Nancy's family actually file a lawsuit because now they know it's CTE. Now they know it's from all this trauma. Now they know all these things. So there's somebody to blame. But that lawsuit got thrown out in 2012. But now there was a battle over like who's going to get Chris Benoit's estate. He was a millionaire. Oh. He made great money in the WWFE. ABC. So who gets it?
Yeah.
So he's got these kids from the other marriage, and then you got Nancy's family. And so that battle goes on for a long time, like years. And they spend $600,000 like on lawyer fees and court fees and all that stuff. To ultimately, this is the fairest thing that can happen. They split it down the middle. Your previous kids, David and the sister, I don't know the sister's name. I didn't see it anywhere. The David and sister from the previous marriage got half, and then Nancy's family got half, which it's a horrible, but that's like the best thing you can do. So in the end, Nancy and Daniel were cremated together. The family has their ashes, and then Chris Benoit was cremated, and his family also has his ashes.
Oh, my God.
This is what I love. Not love. I don't love anything about this, but as a parent, I would think that Michael Benoit has a little bit of peace knowing that, because people are painting your son to be a monster, right? You got a little bit of peace knowing that, like, he was sick, like he had brain damage.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that modified his behavior and that,
everything. Like CTE is like a known thing now. Like people know about it. Like there was a movie, there's a documentary, there's all kinds of things that show you that there's at least the NFL is like doing things to help prevent that. And
I don't know what you can do. Yeah.
But it like I would say back in the day, like they didn't know that. They just were like, oh, he's just a psychopath and he went crazy. But like at least now, you know, like there's something that backs it up, even though it doesn't make it okay. But like, I mean, if you're sick,
it's still a sad story.
If you're sick, you're sick.
It's like getting mad at, I don't know, somebody with cancer for being sick or losing their hair. It's part of their sickness.
I know. And it's like,
that's how I feel about it.
You have to,
even though it's tragic and you have different feelings, but that's how I feel about it. And then just a little fun fact is, do you know that pro wrestlers have a higher chance of dying before the age 50?
Not shocked. I'm not shocked. Based on what I listened to one podcast and watched one documentary, and they told me how many people die before they're like 40.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But I mean, if you're jumping into a mat, like I think if you're having to like be jacked, and so you're taking all these drugs, you're doing steroids, you're doing all the things, and then if you're like crashing your head into freaking mats and like, I mean, you got to get rope burn at least a little bit of rope burn.
Yeah.
Don't they jump off those rope things, like those rope rings?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you got to be.
Well, you know, their deaths can be categorized. I mean, there's some other ones.
Drugs.
No, suicide, overdose, and heart attacks.
So they're having heart
attacks from the
drugs.
The abuse, the drugs.
So it's all from drugs.
It's drugs.
Suicide from your drugs because you've drove yourself crazy. Heart attacks from your drugs, obviously, and overdose from your drugs. So it's all from the drugs.
All from the drugs.
Give me some drugs.
Don't do drugs.
I'm about to do drugs.
Where's Mr. McGruff when we need him?
Oh my gosh.
Where is he?
Do you remember when Dare was a thing? It's like not a thing anymore.
No.
Why? Dare to keep off drugs.
Because think of what they would say.
To just say no. You dare
is this
to
Kids
make
Bop?
us friends. Just
Is that a real song?
More and bodies. Something like that. Yes, that was a song.
I thought we just turned on Kids Bop.
Oh.
Listen, this is why you asked me a question. What happened to Dare? So according to Criminal Minds and Spencer Reed on Criminal Minds, that the chant was, remember, don't talk to strangers. And then the stranger would be like this person like that looked real scary.
Like a black person?
No, it would just, it wouldn't even like, it didn't have a color. It was just like they were just
like a creepy shadow figure?
Yeah, shadowy figure. And they realized that strangers don't really abduct you or hurt you. It's people that you know and your family and your uncle and your aunts and your family, your friends. So
yeah,
I'm sure Dare's still around, but there's no more stranger danger.
Really do it in school. Like they used to like, we had Dare shirts and all the stuff.
Yes, and the dog would come and there were stickers. We'd have a parade. So can you say wow?
Wow.
I thought that was going to be real quick, but I'm glad it wasn't. There's Chris Benoit for you guys.
Add stuff to it. Listen, if I'm involved, it ain't going to be quick.
It ain't going to be quick.
That's what she said. No, that's not what she said.
So we got another story for you next week. Oscar, can we tell him?
Oscar the what? The Blade Runner.
The Blade Runner.
Oscar, is it his name? Oscar?
Oscar
Pistorius.
Bitch, it's your story.
I know.
She'll know by next week.
I'll know by next week.
Record.
And it's probably going to be 3 hours this time. No.
She's not reading a book.
I ain't reading no damn books anymore.
No books. Hey, so we need y'all to all go do us a favor right now. There's a website. So you know that me and Caroline, we only do the research and we do the voice part. But the guys in the background, they do the work and all the editing. When we can let them edit them, sometimes we make it real hard for them to edit. So that's why you hear like me snorting and Caroline whispering, and some things we just can't. Killing gnats.
These damn freaking gnats.
So the website is, so they're called Rogue Media Network, and that's who makes us possible. Website, roguemedianetwork.com. You go to the right-hand corner, and there's a survey. They want to know what you want in a podcast, what type of podcast, what do you like in a podcast? Like, it's just informative for us. Fill that out, please, and help us bring you better podcasts.
Do it or die. Just kidding.
Don't forget to RRS, rate, review, subscribe, and we will read it on air when we see it.
And as always, stay aware.
Stay alive.
And always be DTF. That is down to find the murderer.
Bye, y'all. Are you Salt and Pepper now?
No, who was their person? It's over with an R. She was the DJ. Spinderella.
Spinderella.
DJ Spinderella. Bye.
Later.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.